There's really no secret about our approach. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors, doing new things, because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. We're always exploring and experimenting.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Imagineers Disney podcast. I am your host, Matt, and Susie has disappeared. And there she is. She has come back. Bring her back. Hello.
I closed.
And you were gone.
I closed the wrong tab.
Oh.
You know.
I was like, oh no, internet problems.
No, never.
Never.
So, what's up?
It's been a busy day. There's just been a lot of announcements this week.
There have been. It's an exciting time. We're right on the like verge of summer and everyone getting ready to travel and some really big stuff going on.
Yep, yeah. And before we get into the big news for the week, I've just got a couple people hopping on. Hey, Melissa.
Yay!
Thanks for joining us. Joe, good to see you too, my man. Says the
Yay.
guitar solo in the intro.
Oh,
Yes, yes, indeed.
gets me every time.
Hercules soundtrack in general, but
Oh, so good.
fantastic. Very underrated.
Mhm.
I think we did an episode on that a long time ago.
I think so, yeah.
Anyway, so we're going to get things rolling right away tonight. So
Mhm.
a few announcements. So we are going to step outside of the Disney bubble for a minute because there was a big announcement, a much anticipated announcement from our friends from Universal. Velocicoaster opening June 10th. Check out this trailer. Oh man, I'm excited. Susie, I know you are too, right?
Oh, I will be there opening day. I cannot wait to sit on the front row and ride this ride.
It's gonna have a great view. 0 to 70 in 2.4 seconds. Fastest roller coaster in Florida, I believe. And then that hill that you saw in the video as well. When you go over that hill, the descent is at an 80-degree angle. So I think also the steepest coaster in Florida. It's exciting stuff for coaster lovers and people who are not named Susie. So
I don't dislike roller coasters. I dislike that. I know what that would I don't want to feel like that. I'm the person who was almost knocked out for the whole day from Hagrid's and was like, let's cap the day with E.T. So I handled Hagrid's, I think, pretty well, but this is out of my range.
Had Fievel's Playland actually been open, Susie would have actually ended the day with that. And
yeah. An American Tail? Absolutely. Steven Spielberg's best film.
That's a statement.
It's not true.
It is fantastic. I love American Tail and Fievel Goes West. Anyway,
so Velocicoaster.
That is a topic for another day. So, okay, moving on to our Disney news. So, just
did we say the date? Oh, it was in the video.
Yeah, June 10th. June 10th for Velocicoaster. There you go. There's the date. Write it down. Remember it. Book your vacation with us. And coming up, Run Disney Virtual Series.
It's like they listened to our show.
So they made an announcement and they posted an image of the race medals. So it is 3 5Ks, correct?
Yes, there are 3 separate 5Ks. You can sign up for any one of them individually, or if you opt to do the challenge and run all 3, you get those 3 medals and an additional 4th medal for doing the challenge.
Bonus medal, and there they are.
Yeah, so it's Lion King themed. You can see the 3 original medals. So there's the Broadway, the animated original, movie, and then the live action, and then that last one you can see with the challenge with the drawn Simba there. So I'm so excited about this. I've never done a strictly virtual run. I've signed up for an in-person run that moved virtual. So this will be my first virtual series and I have to do it because it's Lion King. And please like this video and flood it with comments to peer pressure and make Matt feel really bad so that he signs up.
I mean, the medals are cool. So that's what's kind of making me question my.
And they're just 5Ks. You can go out one evening and just walk that. Yeah.
Just 5Ks. Just 3.5 miles?
And how much walking do you do in a day at Disney? Way more than that.
Maybe.
Just put on a podcast. Maybe not ours. I don't know if you can listen to yourself.
That's ours.
I don't like listening to our show. I'm like, oh, Susie's annoying.
Anyway.
Do it.
So there's Run Disney.
Yeah.
There's the announcement for that. So next big piece of news today was Disney has updated their mask policy for Disney World.
Yeah, this is, I think this is big. Personally, I'm very excited because I have a trip coming up in like 2 weeks after this mask policy takes effect. So I'm very excited to take advantage of this.
Yeah. So this actually starts in a couple of days, April 8th. So April 8th, the new policy is in place. And really, it's the same policy. There's just one minor little tweak. If you're in the park and you want to take a photo, you have to remain stationary where you are, but you can remove your mask long enough to take that photo and then put it back on. So it's a step in a loosening of the mask policy in the parks, which in the Florida heat is any time that you can remove the mask and
time to take a picture. Put it back on. But when we go, it's Dapper Day weekend. So for me, this is a big deal because we had to do Dapper Day in the fall with a mask, and it just didn't have the same effect when you have like your red lipstick on, all dappered up, and no one can see it. So. Yep.
Bobby says slowly getting back to normalcy. I agree, Bobby.
One step at a time, but we'll take what we can get.
It's good to see. And going back to the run thing real quick, Joseph says, Matt, do the 5K with me. Okay, we'll see. All right. So there's the mask policy. And then our last news story for this evening, Disney Cruise Line suspension update. So Disney, I got to pull up the article for this because there's a lot of information, important dates. So all U.S. departures for Disney Cruise Line have been suspended through June 2021. So the end of June, that is how long the suspension is. So hopefully we'll be back in the ports in Florida in July. We'll just have to wait and see. So for those of you who are booked for July cruises, just hang on.
We'll see.
We don't have any information on that just yet. As soon as we know something, we will let you know. But through the end of June right now is the new suspension update. The Disney Magic European season has cancellations all the way through September 18th. So I actually just had one. This is one. I had one cancel out on this one. I was really excited for them because Disney has a wonderful cruise itinerary in Northern Europe that has an overnight in St. Petersburg. And it's only for a couple of cruises. So I feel really bad for them because I really, really wanted them to do that one. But hopefully it'll be back soon. And then Canada departures have no cruises can leave out of Canadian ports with more than 100 passengers until February 28th of next year.
Okay.
So a little bit longer. So obviously the Alaskan sail season is probably done. But again, on all of these updates, if there are any more extensions, we will let you know. And if you have booked a cruise with us, we will be in contact with you very soon to go over your options for your refunds or your future cruise credits if you have paid in full. So speaking of Disney trips, I am really excited about tonight's show.
I am too.
It's a topic that we have discussed before, but we don't talk about a whole lot.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that this is maybe one of the best products that Disney puts out for vacations for families. And we are going to be talking about Adventures by Disney and specifically their South Africa itinerary. And we are very pleased to have friend of the podcast, Mr. Larry Sprung, join us.
Yay!
Hello, Larry.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Hi.
Absolutely. It's a
Welcome.
pleasure.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here, and I always enjoy talking about my trip to South Africa. Thankfully, we did it a couple of years ago before all this broke out, and we were able to successfully enjoy the trip. And I'm sure others will be able to enjoy it soon as well.
Yep. And, there aren't any adventures going on right now, but hopefully soon we'll be back to normal. And I think Adventures by Disney may be one of the first things that comes back. But
yeah. Well, I mean, they've already mentioned, and, we'll get into more specifics, but there are more private options that they're going to be offering when these tentative dates, hopefully still happen. So yeah, they're definitely doing what they can to make magic happen for people, because these trips are spectacular.
Yeah,
they are.
And so she's not on the show tonight, but she is watching. Larry's wife, Denise, who also went on the trip, she actually commented, and I completely agree. When we were looking to plan, I had a really hard time finding people who actually did the Adventures by Disney South Africa trip. That is why we want to share our experience. And I agree. It's definitely one of the lesser known itineraries, I feel like, but and we'll have some photos and stuff coming up here in just a few minutes. We'll let Larry, kind of discuss his experience, because that is the one thing we would love to hear from people who have experienced these things, because they are the best storytellers for what these trips truly are. And I think if you are if you love conservation, if you're a conservationist, if you love animals, this itinerary is like tailor-made for you.
It totally is, and that was really why we ended up going on this trip. It was my youngest son's bar mitzvah trip, and he is really an animal lover. And if you ask him today, aside from wanting to play in the NHL, his next sought-after role would be an exotic animal vet. So
wow.
He was really excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was really excited to see these animals that we were able to see on this trip.
Well, let's just kind of, first of all, how long is the itinerary? How long was your itinerary?
I believe it was 9 days in total through the Adventures by Disney. What we did was, and I highly recommend it, is we went in a few days prior just to get acclimated to the time difference, get acclimated to the lay of the land, and, feel refreshed. So when the tour actually started and the adventure started, we were ready to go and enjoy it thoroughly.
Yeah, that is a great point to make. Especially when you're traveling internationally, build in a few, at least a day or two, either before or at, or maybe even after as well for your trip, because it does take some time to get acclimated to time zone differences and jet lag and all that. So that's a great point.
Yeah, I mean, basically from the minute we left our house in New York on Long Island to the time that we set foot in Cape Town, it was basically like a 27-hour turnaround from beginning to end, with very little good sleep in between.
For sure.
Yeah.
So the start of your tour, I know you went into Cape Town. So tell us a little bit about first couple of days of your trip, your itinerary.
Yeah, so I mean, we got there, and the first couple of days, we decided to just stay locally in Cape Town. We stayed at the exact same hotel that we were going to be at for the first few nights of the adventure. And again, just to make things easier, kind of get acclimated to the area. And, we wanted to take it a little bit easy for the first few days. So a couple of the highlights that, we took part in was we did a helicopter tour, which basically went over Robben's Island, where Nelson Mandela was held. And it really... Yeah, we were able to take in a lot of sights of the ocean and the scenery and the greenery, Table Mountain, things of that nature. We did that. We also, because it was my son's bar mitzvah trip, there is one of the oldest synagogues in South Africa. So we The hotel was actually really nice, as you would expect from a Disney type trip. I call
Right.
it Disney-esque, right? It was very Disney-esque. I was a little unsure about using Uber and some of those ride apps, if you will, there. So we ended up getting a driver from the hotel. Unfortunately that day, or fortunately for that matter, the normal drivers were all out and about. So we got like a bellhop who was turned into a driver that day. And he was fantastic. He was so nice. We ended up having him come in with us. He went on the tours with us. We went to the museum that was attached to it. We went into the synagogue, and he had never been in a synagogue before. And he was actually taking photos himself because he loved the scenery and he had never experienced that before. And we built a pretty nice friendship with him. We went there, and then one of my sons is a really big sneakerhead, and they have a sneaker reselling shop in Cape Town also. So we took a stop there, and we are still friends, and I still keep in touch with the guy Balani, who was our driver that day, and he was unbelievable. He took us, and we made him part of the family for the day, which was very enjoyable. Wow. And a good opportunity for my kids to get exposure to somebody who is not a Disney employee, who's flown into South Africa, but somebody who's actually living there and a resident there.
Right.
I love that.
And I think that's one of the great things about Adventures by Disney. When you're actually doing your tour, you have 2 tour guides, and one of them is with Disney, but the other one is local. So it is essentially a local expert. So it just kind of ensures that you have a really authentic experience in that location that you're at for that particular day.
Yeah, and we had I'm sure we'll get into it, but our adventure guy was adventure guy Craig, another great person. I stay in touch with him. I actually had him as a guest on my podcast. He's a real adventurer. He does wingsuit jumping and skydiving and surfing. He's just
wow.
I mean, the pictures
way more fun than we are.
Oh my god. Oh my God! The stuff he posts on Instagram it will blow your mind. He's just a fun-loving guy.
That's great. And then, so when you went to the synagogue, was this your technically the first day of your tour, like during free time, or was this the part prior to your trip?
No, this was the part prior to the trip.
Okay.
Yeah, we spent about 4 or 5 days prior to starting the adventure in Cape Town to get acclimated. So we went to the synagogue, we went to the aquarium one day, we spent some time at the VA waterfront there, which was super nice, and a lot of shops and food, and we spent about 4 or 5 days prior to getting linked up with our crew.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to make. And it goes back to the idea of going early. So, the Adventures by Disney itinerary is phenomenal, but obviously you can't do everything in every city. So going early does provide that opportunity for you to go and explore and just see more of the cultural experiences and scenic experiences in that area that you're starting from.
Yeah, and we felt comfortable because we were staying at the same hotel, same area. Yep. They kind of told us where we could and where we shouldn't go, and we kind of stuck to that. So, that was especially our family. I was telling you before we went live, our family, we have been to, traveled in the States, traveled to Canada, outside of going to some of the islands that you go to on Disney cruises. We hadn't been outside the U.S. borders, so never taken a trip to Europe. And people were like, "Oh, your first trip, you're going to South Africa." So that was a concern of ours, and we wanted to make sure that we felt comfortable, the kids felt comfortable, and we felt if we did things that were places that Disney recommended, that we felt a little more comfortable, operating in that environment.
And I think that's a big thing is trusting that Disney's done their research, and when you say Disney-esque, I think that's a huge part of the trip is being able to, know that you're going to get that consistent quality. Disney's not going to put their name and partner with someone else who doesn't meet their standards. So that must give you a lot of confidence when traveling somewhere so remote and so new.
It absolutely did, and you know, you could not tell the folks that worked at the hotel, the accommodations, the way you were treated and taken care of. It was very Disney like. If you put a blindfold on and told me that I was at a Disney hotel or resort, I probably wouldn't have known the difference because it was that good.
That's
Yeah,
great.
they do a phenomenal job of really just picking those hotels for the guests to stay in. Uh, they are top notch, top of the line. So
Yeah. So yeah, and then so basically after those 4 or 5 days, I think it was halfway through or 3/4 through the fifth day, they let us know that our guides were going to be at the hotel. There was a meeting area that we could kind of meet up with them, get to know each other, and that was basically the start of the trip, the adventure.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's get into that part of the trip.
Yeah, I'm ready to be jealous. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, we met with them in the evening. They basically gave us the itinerary. They took some ideas. We had to give them some menu choices because there were certain things that they had to order in advance and whatnot. But we got to meet the adventure guides. They gave us their contact information through WhatsApp. So, and they literally told us 24/7 they are available to help us. If we need anything, we have a question, just send them a message. And people were sending messages and they were very, very responsive. And it was clear that, they were there to help us. And it was very Disney-esque, like I said before, in terms of the service and their attentiveness to make sure that everybody, had what they were going to need. We knew what was going to go on. We had the itinerary and we had, reasonable expectations of how the trip was going to take place and unfold.
Yeah, and you make an excellent point about the Disney experience. I think the hang up for so many people is, well, I don't want my vacation to be a Mickey Mouse vacation. And what people don't realize is that's not really what this is. And, you're going to places all over the world. South Africa is just one of the itineraries. And we can get into itineraries later on when we're wrapping up. But, you were going to bucket list destinations and seeing things that not a whole lot of people, especially from America, have had the opportunity to branch out and go do. And Disney does such a great job with putting out these itineraries, especially for families.
Yeah, and they're very intentional about what they do and how they do it. You don't realize it, or at least we didn't, being that it was our first one. We kind of questioned at the beginning, well, why are we going to the game reserve where all the animals are at the end? And there was reason for it. I mean, just to kind of fast forward a little bit, those days were long. We were up at 5 a.m. in the morning to do a morning game drive. And then we were doing an evening game drive at, dusk. And then we had events and things to do in the evening. And then it was a late night to bed and you were up early again. If you did that at the beginning, it would have been, far more difficult to make it through the entire trip. So those are just the kind of things you don't think about, but they did, and they have, and they, they keep refining things.
Fantastic. So
yeah, I think it's kind of like, we've talked about the Keys to the Kingdom tour at Magic Kingdom, where it's Disney's values. I feel like this is Disney's values as a company, like as the vessel for you to do something of that kind of quality elsewhere. I think that's a good way of thinking it through. You're right. You're not going to have like characters aren't coming out and, seeing you guys, but it's that like Disney quality and standard through everything else that they do.
Yeah, I mean, one of the other things that sticks out in my mind was actually getting to, I think it was getting to the game reserve. They had issues in previous trips with getting people on commercial flights from where they needed to go to the area for the game reserve. So they ended up, and there was an increase in price the year we went from the year before. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that they ended up ditching the commercial flight, and we had a private flight in order to get to the game reserve, because then they were able to control the timing and everything else. And it was a nice little add-on, but those are the things that, Disney is always good at reviewing, looking at, refining, and tweaking and making better. Not, always looking to make the experience better, not worse.
Yep. So you start your trip down in Cape Town.
Correct.
Yes. So if I remember correctly, I think I saw the Cape of Good Hope was one of the first stops.
Yes, it was. Yeah, that was actually the second day. First day, just to give you a quick recap of that, was we went to the Table Mountain, which actually we're a little disappointed about this, but again, Disney came through. They let us know in advance, and there was really nothing they could do about it. The cable car that you normally take from the bottom to the top of Table Mountain was being serviced, and they take it out of service occasionally over the course of the year because it needs maintenance. Just so happened it was taken down while we were there. We knew a couple days before, so we ended up taking a bus up to the garden area and kind of hiking up it, which is a little bit different experience. But again, I think they made the best out of the situation that we were dealt because they had no control over it.
Right. And again, it's just another example of, they're going to do their best to make things right and make adjustments if things, especially beyond their control, are happening. They're going to try to adjust that and ensure that you can still have a good time on that day.
Yeah, and then from there we went to District 6, which was an very infamous, famous area, and we had somebody. They had a local there that had lived through the whole apartheid and kind of educated the kids, which was pretty powerful experience. And then we actually had dinner that evening at an authentic South African restaurant, where it was open to the public. There was a little show kind of thing at the beginning, and then we went into our own private room for dinner, and then they, kind of catered to us there. So, again, they gave us the experience of the large restaurant, but then we had a private dining area, just set aside for our group at that evening.
Yeah, that's wow. Yeah, that's great.
And then day 2, we went to the Cape of Good Hope, which was, fantastic.
And Denise was kind enough to email me some pictures from your trip, just a handful of pictures.
Oh, yay.
From various days on the trip. And I was trying to piece them together. I'm like, okay, so I think these were on the same day and this was on the same day. So we do have a few from Cape of Good Hope, and man, what a view. I mean,
yes.
There's you and your family, and then it has to be one of the most spectacular
oh my gosh
views anywhere on there.
And actually, from that area, looking down in the water, there was a point where we did see a shadow of a shark swimming around.
Oh my gosh.
Swimming around in the water, which was also
that's awesome.
Neat. Yes,
I'm sure. And then got another.
Oh my gosh, that's stunning.
Yeah, the South African coastline is it's so beautiful. So beautiful.
It's ridiculous. And I live on Long Island. I mean, you guys, Florida also, but it's different.
Oh, it's different.
So yeah, I mean, that scenery was great. And then the other thing that we ended up doing that day was we went to the Penguin Beach, which was basically just a beach, exactly what it said, a beach littered with penguins everywhere. And that was quite amazing. And I will tell you again, from a Disney perspective, when we got there, the line was pretty long in order to get, to pay the entrance in order to get into onto the beach. And essentially the guides went up before us. Then they came and got us, and basically we kind of walked past the entire line and just went right in, and we were good to go because they're Disney and they can do that.
The power. Yeah. That's another one of the benefits. I had my clients who did the England and France itinerary come on after their trip, and they said the exact same thing. Just when you're going to public areas, especially tourist attractions, it's a breeze getting through. It's taken care of, and I think that's definitely one of the benefits of Adventures by Disney for sure.
Yeah, they definitely take care of their guests in that regard, and must take care of all the locals as well in order to make that all happen, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I know we kind of teased it a little bit earlier. I said that if you love animals, this is the place for you, because I know there were I think a couple of at least another stop on the way to the game reserve, correct?
We had a few stops actually, before the game reserve. We, just to, I know you want to get to the game reserve, but just to give you a couple of quick highlights that are really good notes. We went to a place called Monkeyland, where you basically go in and there are monkeys everywhere. And again, from a Disney perspective, they timed it right at the feeding time for all the monkeys, so they were all coming out of the woodwork to feed. Great. Which was unbelievable. And then the second piece that I'd like to point out is we went to an elephant reserve, and we showed up there after the reserve had closed to the, that's it right there, to the public. So we were the only ones there, and it was about sunset time, and it was feeding time for the elephants. So we had the opportunity to, we were the only ones there. We got to feed the elephants and, be able to take in their beautiful, the beautiful creatures that they are, and then actually had dinner at the elephant reserve. So those were two real highlights before we got to the safari, obviously.
Yeah, and then I think we had the picture of the monkeys.
Yeah. So. I mean, they were everywhere.
Look at that feast. Look at those tails. That's amazing.
I forget what the name of the monkey is, but there's one particular monkey that they warned us, be very careful, hold on to your wallets, put your watch away, because they'll just take everything. They'll just grab it. Yeah, they'll just grab it from you. So... yeah, so we ended up a few days later at the game reserve, which was, definitely the highlight and, I think the best part of the trip and why they save it for the end.
Yep.
Wow.
So I think this photo was the sunrise portion.
Yeah.
I think.
I don't recall.
It was, yeah.
I probably.
It is sunrise and sunset stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, most of again, you have to go out in the morning. Everything was with the sunrise and the sunset. We drove around typically for almost 3 hours each game drive, if you will, and usually about halfway we would stop and have an opportunity. In the morning, it would be coffee and croissants, and in the evening, it would be beer, wine, and cheese, to just take in the surroundings, which were phenomenal.
Denny said it was sunset on the last week.
There you go.
Love it.
So I mean, yeah, it was just amazing the amount of animals. We were lucky enough to see the big five while we were there, which is the lion, the leopard, the rhino, the elephant, and the buffalo. The hardest one is the leopard. Yeah, that was a cool
so
picture.
Cute.
Yep. There's the lion in the background.
And I will, we'll talk about lions for a minute. We had an interesting story on our first game drive while we were out there, our first full game drive. Literally about 3 or 4 feet from me, a lion came walking right by the truck. And, we had an older gentleman with us because I think it fit about 12 people in the cars that we were with. And then you had the driver, and then you had a tracker who sat on the front of the car who was basically looking for the animals for us. Yeah, so the driver, you see his head, and then the tracker's up on the left-hand side, and he's looking for the animals. So we had this lion come literally 3 feet. We were videotaping it. We were like, oh, my God, this thing is really close. I mean, if I literally put my hand out, I probably could have touched it. And the older gentleman behind us goes to the driver, because the driver had like a little suitcase next to him, sitting next to him, and he said, I'm assuming that's a gun, right? And the driver's like, no. He's like, there's no guns allowed. The only guns that are allowed out here are the anti-poachers who go shooting at the guys who are poaching. He said, other than that, no guns. So the guy's like, well, what's in the case? He goes, my camera. He goes, you never know when a good shot's going to be available.
I mean,
And he was like, yeah, he goes, so everybody was like concerned. And he said, no, this is why we tell you don't stand up, because the animals cannot see people necessarily. They see shapes. So as long as you are in the shape of the car that they're used to, they're not going to bother with you. And they really didn't. They really could care less that we were there. And, everybody the drivers all spoke to each other, from the different cars. So if somebody was spotted something else, they would let the other crews know. And then hopefully we all have an opportunity to get a chance to see what was going on.
So from my understanding, we can just let the lions in Kilimanjaro safaris just That's how I'm interpreting it. Just like let them out, let them walk up to the vehicles.
Yeah, see,
No,
on
maybe not.
Kilimanjaro Safari, you're like they're in your territory there, or they're sectioned off.
Yeah.
Out there in the wild, you're like literally a visitor in their home.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's almost like it screws with your mind a little bit because of Kilimanjaro Safari and rides like that, because you're like looking around, well, where's the pen? Where's the fence? And there's no fence. There's no pen. They literally are right there, and you're driving through the brush to find them and watch them.
Wow.
Yeah. Denise is watching on Facebook, so she's commenting a lot in the Facebook section of the comments for the show tonight, and she actually posted a link to the Ranger's Instagram account, and you can see some of his photos. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
And he's a great photographer. He's a really good photographer. Yeah,
yeah, that's fantastic.
So I could share one story with you, which was pretty cool. It happened on our last night. We had gotten word that there were two leopards that were fighting, and we were trying to find them. And real long story. We ended up coming upon. We were about to take that break that we normally take in the evening, and we heard that the leopard was in an area where another truck was taking their break. So our driver wanted to go warn them to kind of watch out, be careful that these animals were agitated. And as we're approaching, we see one of the animals had like scratches and blood on its leg, and it was a little agitated, and the other car had just gotten out of their car. And basically our driver put our car in between the animal and theirs and told them, get in the car. And they had to load up quickly.
Wow.
And it ended up turning into an unbelievable thing because one of the leopards ended up tracking down a warthog and caught it. And we ended up pulling into the brush. I mean, literally pulling into the brush. We had to bend down, heads down, butts up. My son literally had thorns stuck in his butt, thankfully they're not in his head. And we pulled up in the brush right in there, and we watched as this leopard basically ate his dinner, which
Unreal.
was, it was crazy.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Wow.
And my wife will say, she's probably typing it right now in the comments, something like, I can't believe I saw a leopard eat a warthog, because she says that at least, once a month when talking about this trip. So,
well, I mean, that's not even like a once in a lifetime thing. That's like a once in like a 50 lifetime. Like, who gets to say that? That's amazing. Yeah. Outside of like a, National Geographic show, no one sees anything like that. That's amazing.
No, some of the rangers, they'll talk to you about seeing giraffe seeing giraffe give birth on the reserve.
Wow.
They've seen things like that, and it's amazing just to be in that environment and see those things happening. You see it on TV, you see it on National Geographic, you hear about it, but seeing that in person is just amazing. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Denise says, yes, I watched it.
Love it.
She also made another great point. Animal Kingdom was modeled by Joe Rohde after the Kafama Private Game Reserve, hence the odd feelings like we were at Disney. So, yeah, I kind of get that. When I wasn't able to download all of your photos, but like I went through them, and like the Game Preserve Lodge just reminds me of so much of the Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Yeah, I was looking at photos. It's crazy.
It is, it is spot on. I mean, a lot of what they did and do is really that good, and it's authentic. It's trying to make it authentic. I'll see how authentic it is when I go back. I haven't been back to Disney on Kilimanjaro Safari yet. I've kind of said that I wouldn't go on it, but I might have to give it a try, and we'll see how I feel if it brings back those similar memories that I had being in the middle of the brush.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe slightly less dangerous.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I never felt in danger. I don't think any of us did. I don't think any of us really felt in danger at any point in time.
What about here?
Oh no!
I didn't feel like I was in danger. This was the easier of the two. it was either that or my kids were trying to goat me into eating a mealworm, a grub.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Somebody
Tastes like
volunteered.
chicken.
Yeah,
No.
somebody volunteered right before I did, so I didn't have to. So
Oh,
when
darn.
the scorpion came up, I had to do it. So, and
Oh, my
actually,
gosh.
a quick funny story. So I took that picture and I said, we have my firm, we have a pretty big social media following. And my wife and I said, oh, you know what? We'll save that picture. So one day when the market goes down, we'll tell people, don't panic, stay calm. The markets, would do whatever they do. And literally, you can't make this up. The day I got back from this vacation, the market tanked like 400 or 500 points, and we had to put the picture up. So it didn't even last like a day for coming back from vacation. So the picture came in very handy, and I was glad I did it.
So I've heard if you don't mess with them, they're good. They're fine. You just kind of sit there real still.
Yeah, that one I think was my son. I don't think that was in my hand. I think that was my youngest son had it in his hand, and it was a glow in the dark.
Mm.
That is so cool.
That's so great. It looks like something from Pandora at Animal Kingdom with how it glows like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, they put it right under a black light so you can kind of see right through it. It was neat. So while we were at the game reserve, they did stuff like that. They had somebody come in, brought like snakes and scorpions and did a little thing. One day we did archery and axe throwing. A lot of like authentic things that either take place there or would take place in South Africa in the brush.
Wow.
Yeah, this entire trip, gosh, it's so hard because Adventures by Disney has so many itineraries.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do like all of them, of course.
Right.
It's like, oh man, which one do you do first? But this one is so high on my list.
Yeah.
But for people on the fence and they're like, okay, I'm thinking about an Adventures by Disney trip. I'm not ready to pull the trigger yet. What would be one or two things that you would say that were just big points of sell for you personally and your family to encourage people to be like, okay, this is a bucket list trip that you absolutely have to do?
Yeah, so I think for us, we ended up doing the Adventures by Disney because going especially to South Africa, which is much different than being in the United States, we wanted to have that Disney way and have, we felt comfortable. We felt a level of safety and comfort with that. I think that we've gotten used to, we're DVC members, we go to Disney quite often. We've gotten used to that we've gone on 4 or 5 cruises. We've gotten used to that Disney level service and comfort. And to us, it was worth having that, especially going to South Africa, just having that in there. And I will tell you, you could look at the pictures, you can, and believe me, I love them and I look at them often and I get a lot of joy from them, but there is nothing better than sitting down and thinking about and remembering all the good times that I had on that trip. Not only that I had, but seeing how my kids experienced it, how my wife experienced it, how I knew she was going to say about the warthog, So, just those things. If you like going places and you enjoy travel, that's one thing. But if you want to enjoy travel and do it at a super high level and get that level of service and enjoyment out of the trip and not have to worry about anything. We didn't even talk about when we went to 2 or 3 locations. We never touched our bags. We packed them out, put them outside. We never saw them. Our driver one night, I think we flew from one place to another, and our driver who had our coach bus, they hired somebody. He drove the bus through the night. Our bus driver slept in a hotel. They flew him, and they cover everything. And it was just that level. So if you're going to do it, it's something. It's you might say it's a once in a lifetime, which we did before we went. And I will tell you, my wife and I have said a number of times we will be going back to South Africa. We may not be taking the kids for the next time, but we will be going back for sure.
Yeah, and just a point of information for you guys. So yes, this is a great thing for families. There are the main Adventures by Disney itineraries are with smaller groups. So you are with other people outside of your family. but they are now starting to offer private tours.
Right.
Where there are no age restrictions, because Adventures by Disney does have a minimum age requirement for kids to go, and the private tours does not. So that does kind of open the door for families who have younger kids who still want to travel and be together and kind of have that personal experience. They are starting to offer those tours in not all of the locations, but some of them. I believe Italy, Greece, I think Costa Rica, and I think there's another one, but Egypt. I know Egypt was another one.
That's what I would love to do. Just the history and the culture, and I love the food from that region of the world. That one would be really spectacular.
Yep.
But yeah, Matt. So like you're talking about those private groups, up to 12 guests.
Yep.
So really, really that like very intimate experience, and of course, not having to worry about so many things right now in a post-COVID world. Just having that even smaller group with just your family or whoever's traveling with you is very reassuring.
Yep, absolutely. Anything else that off the top of your head, Larry, that you just want to mention before we close out?
No, I mean, listen, if you're thinking about it, just do it. I mean, it was worth every dime that we spent, and Adventures by Disney is something that we're going to continue doing because of it. I know you mentioned in the opening, just kind of as an aside, about the cruise that stops in St. Petersburg. You mentioned, right?
Yes.
So we were booked on that cruise several years ago, and we ended up bailing because of the stop in St. Petersburg, because it was right around the time where there was some kind of missile shot off at one point. It was like probably 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know about getting off the ship there, and
That's fair.
I again, we hadn't been outside the States, but now because of that Adventures by Disney component now, where you could go to St. Petersburg, get off the ship and not be on your own and have the Adventures by Disney component and take you, I'd be far more apt to do that. And I will tell you again, I can't impress this upon your viewers, your listeners enough that, the level of service is, Disney, the accommodations, everything that you would expect from Disney is on this trip. And most importantly for us as a young family was that safety component. And we didn't think for a minute about it, because it was that good, and that level of safety was there and embedded in everything that they did on our entire trip, whether it was in Cape Town where we started or any place on our travels up to and including Johannesburg. It was, the safety was impeccable.
Yeah, again,
it's a huge point.
Another huge point, and it's one we really didn't touch. Well, I think we mentioned on the last show for sure, because it was kind of the final thing that pushed my clients who went to London and Paris was the safety stuff. The Adventures by Disney guides go through a very, very rigorous training, very extensive. They at one point in their training, they actually meet with the head of Disney Global Security, and then they are trained for situational things like what you just mentioned, and how to react to that, how to react to change in general. So one of the examples, our Adventures by Disney tour guide who was giving a presentation for our travel agency a couple of years ago said, a few years ago when there were, I think it was the pilot strike in Europe, this of course affected flights for the Adventures by Disney people, and they went in and got private charters where they needed to go. So everything is taken care of behind the scenes. You don't have to worry about anything when you are taking this trip. And I think that is a comfort to me as a husband and a father. If I'm going outside of the country, especially on my own, there's a lot of stuff going through my head. Okay, how do I be safe in this particular part of the world? I mean, anywhere you go, no matter what, I think you always need to be just cautious of your surroundings. But Disney has really made it a point to make these trips safe for every person in your family.
Yeah, I concur. And there's no thought. You don't have to think on these trips. All you have to do is enjoy. That's it. Enjoy the time, the sights, and your family, and that's it. Really.
Fantastic. Well, Larry, I mean, I could go on for hours and hours about this trip, this itinerary, Adventures by Disney in general, but we do got to wrap it up. But before we do,
Yes.
tell us a little bit about yourself, because you do have the business, and we want to definitely push our listeners over to you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, sure. Like I said, and already, I'm a father of two. Both my boys they're 15 and 18. We're going on 15 and 18 in the next month, and they're tremendous hockey players. So one's going to college, and one's also continuing to play hockey here on Long Island right now. And I have my business, which is Mitland Financial, which is named after my wife's grandfather, Mitchell, MIT, and my mother, Linda, LIN. And they passed away within a few hours of each other. And then I met my beautiful wife of 20 years. So they were two great people. We've instilled their values into the firm.
Wow.
And we are a wealth management firm. We help people work towards becoming and remaining financially independent, designing and developing financial plans, and helping them reach their goals. And one of the components of the business, I have a podcast called the Mitland Money Mindset, which has not a lot to do with money, more to do with mindset, speaking with entrepreneurs. Because I am a hockey nut, I've had some very good hockey guests on. We have, if you're a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, we have Manon Rhéaume, the only female hockey player to sign an NHL contract.
Wow.
She's going to be on the show in May, in a couple of weeks. And I just had the opportunity, also going in May, is going to be, actually, Manon is in April. And then in May, I have the owners of the New York Islanders, and an owner from the Seattle Kraken, which is going to be a new team in Seattle. Yeah. So
yeah, that's exciting.
I love everything hockey related.
Yeah,
So,
I was wondering if you being on Long Island, if you were an Islanders fan. So.
The reality is, and please do not tell the owner of the Islanders this, because I did interview him, and that show's going to go in May. I am a New York Ranger fan.
Okay.
Have been my entire life. But that's okay. If I wasn't a Ranger fan, I'd be an Islander fan, I guess. So, so the podcast is a lot of great people, great stories. And, if you're interested, take a listen, and we hope you subscribe. And we're open to hearing about any guests people are interested in. And we have a lot of great resources on mitlandfinancial.com also. If people need any resources or assistance, there's a lot to consume content-wise there as well.
Right. And for those listening to the podcast, again, you can find his podcast at mitlandmoneymindset.com. Well, Larry, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, that was amazing. Oh my gosh, what a stunning trip.
Thank you. And thank you, Matt. Thank you, Susie. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I always love talking Disney, talking Mitland Money Mindset, and sharing stories. So thank you.
I feel like we're going to have you come back on and maybe talk about some Disney Cruise Line itineraries.
Oh, we could do that. I was on the 11 night, the elusive 11 night.
Yes.
Wow.
They haven't done again since. And that was by far the best cruise. Like the 7 nights was not enough for me, but the 11 nights was like a perfect number of nights for us, and we really enjoyed that. And best island is Barbados, by the way.
Okay.
They don't go there very often, but that was the best island we've been to.
Yeah, well, we will definitely have you on, and we will definitely talk about that itinerary, especially if they bring it back. So,
okay. Well, I hope they do, because I do that again in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you how the Velocicoaster is, because I'm going to be hitting that up in July.
Oh yes, June 10th, everybody.
Yeah, you guys have fun. I'll go get some butter beers.
Well, I didn't say I'd be feeling good about it afterwards, but I'm going to do it. I got it.
Got to do it. So
absolutely.
Thank you again, Larry.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And thank you everybody for listening to the podcast this evening. That was a great conversation.
It was. Gosh, I want to go on that trip. Y'all know how I love animals, and that's just
I'm
wow.
so ready to be done with COVID to just really just get back out and travel again. So all in good time. We're getting there. So
one mask lifting at Disney World at a time.
Yeah. So travel is starting to come back. And, if you have been listening to the podcast for a long time, you know that Susie and I both are licensed travel agents with Travel Nation. We do Disney vacations. We do cruises, whether it's Royal Caribbean, Carnival. We do all-inclusive vacations. Those have become very popular because Mexico is pretty much wide open, and a lot of the a lot of the Caribbean islands are open. And
do we have someone traveling now, or is it next week?
It's now
to Mexico. She's in Mexico now.
First day, Melly. Hello.
Yay!
If you're watching this, I doubt it's probably on the beach.
Yeah, have fun. Yeah, she'll listen later.
We hope you're having a good time, but we want you to have a good time. So, we will take care of every aspect of your trip. We've said it before. Planning travel is very personal for me because I see travel as an outlet for families to really spend quality time together. And we want to ensure that you can do that as stress-free as possible.
Right.
So if you want to email us, our email is imagineerspodcast@gmail.com. Just let us know when you'd like to go, where you'd like to go, and we will take care of everything for you, get you a no obligation quote, and get you well on your way to booking your next great adventure.
Yeah. And we just had a Disney booking this week too. So that's very exciting.
And we talked about Adventures by Disney all night tonight. And, it truly is Disney's, I believe it is their highest rated customer satisfaction returns.
Yeah.
Out of any Disney product.
Well.
Disney World, Disneyland, Alani, and Alani's fantastic. The cruise line, Adventures by Disney is such a phenomenal experience. Guests just can't wait to go back. And if this is something you'd like to do, we would love to send you on a trip. So Japan, China, Australia, Egypt, Rome, Germany, the UK,
the United States.
The United States.
There's some really awesome, like Montana, Wyoming. I don't know.
Rockies.
I don't know when they'll get to it with but there's a Disneyland. I don't know when that will open back up, but I'm been reading about that. I want to do that one for sure when I go out there and get to go to the archives and all kinds of really cool stuff. And we talked about tonight, you get to do things that the general public may not have access to at all. So it's definitely a special experience.
Yep. So shoot us an email. Let us know where we can help you plan your next vacation, and we'll get you started. So thank you again, everybody, for listening. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, you can by finding us. We're on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere that you listen to a podcast, whether it's on the app on your phone, in your car, or if you're listening from home on Google Chromecast, or anywhere, you can find us by searching for the Imagineers Disney Podcast. You can also find us on social media. We are the Imagineers Disney Podcast on Facebook. We are _Imagineers on Instagram and @Imagine_ears on Twitter. Come interact with us. And then, of course, join our Discord community as well. You can find the link.
That's right.
You can find the link to our Discord community on any of our social platforms in our bio. So that'll take you to the link that'll have for our Discord, and that is where we meet every Friday night.
I just got excited. I just remembered.
Just remembered what we're doing. So I don't think I actually loaded the graphic. Dag blasted. Oh, well. We are going to be watching Infinity War on Friday night.
So excited.
And then next week, we're going to be watching Endgame. So
it's been in such a Marvel mood. All these great shows and a new Loki trailer this week and Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I'm still emotionally not over WandaVision. So we'll get to hang out with everyone and watch those on our Discord and chat while we watch them, because there's a lot of really fun Easter eggs and great moments and
yeah.
all.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's going to be a blast. So come find us. But again, we appreciate you guys tuning in tonight or listening to the podcast. We appreciate you guys. We love doing this every week. And we look forward to coming at you next week with another episode. And until then, friends, remember, if you can dream it, you can do it.
There's really no secret about our approach. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors, doing new things, because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. We're always exploring and experimenting.